Hi, I'm Tina with Kinship Nutrition. Welcome to my kitchen. So today we are going to talk fermented vegetables, and I'm going to show you how to do it. It's super easy. I know a lot of people are intimidated about fermenting, but it's so easy. You can do it with just a few things that you probably already have on hand, and I'll show you how. So what is a fermented vegetable? Essentially, it's a vegetable that is left in a salt brine of a specific salinity, and it's left to ferment. So the lactobacillus, which is a naturally occurring bacteria in the vegetable, converts the environment to a lower pH or a more acidic environment, which preserves the vegetable and also provides good bacteria for your gut. This is the food form of probiotics. And the beauty of this is that when you eat a fermented vegetable, you're also getting the prebiotics, which is the food for the probiotic. A lot of times we might take a supplement form of a probiotic that doesn't have a prebiotic, and so the probiotics get into your system, but they don't have anything to feed on. So that's the beauty of eating fermented vegetables. The kind of bacteria that's produced in fermented vegetables is essentially transient probiotics, meaning they move through your system. So you have to continuously provide that for your gut to help promote the balance of good bacteria. And essentially that's what we're doing when we're fermenting, is we're providing an environment that inhibits bad bacteria but also promotes good bacteria. Fun fact is that we have more DNA in our bodies of bacteria than we do of human DNA. Our bodies are dependent on good bacteria. So why do we need good gut health? Well, our gut is where we absorb all of the nutrients from food. So you can eat all of the best foods in the world, but if you don't have a healthy gut, you're not going to benefit from all of those nutrients. In order to have a healthy immune system, you have to have a healthy gut. Most of the immune system lies in the lining of the gut, and there is this very intricate communication that happens with gut bacteria and the immune system. It's super fascinating. I get chills thinking about it. Is that weird? Probably. But there's so much we still don't know about the gut and how important it is for the rest of our body. One thing that scientists do know is that there is a very intricate highway of communication between the brain and the gut. So it's also very important for our brain to have a healthy gut. So eat more fermented vegetables. I'm going to create a salt brine, and you can go online and you can find all kinds of information about how much salt that you need and tons of recipes. I'm just going to give you a general template for salt to water, but if you are looking at recipes online, I recommend looking at the reviews and tested recipes before trialing them, because there's so much information that you can find on the internet, but if you don't have enough salt or you have too much salt, you're not going to end up with a good end product. The other thing I would recommend is using vegetables at their peak of ripeness. I wouldn't use anything that, you know, is starting to go bad. What we're trying to preserve is the deliciousness of a perfectly ripe, perfectly delicious vegetable. So I have a few things here that I'm going to ferment today. Zucchini, carrots, and these violet stringless beans. And I'm going to put some garlic in some of these. So the ratio of salt is 1 to 3 tablespoons per quart of water. Some people say 2 to 3. The ratio or the salinity of the water ideal for most vegetables is a 2 to 5% salinity. I'm not going to go in depth about how to reach that ratio. I use 2 to 3 tablespoons, and sometimes I just fall right in the middle of that and use 2.5. Okay, so what do you need? You need jars or a crock, preferably glass. I would not ferment in stainless steel or any kind of metal. Stainless steel will inhibit bacteria, and we don't want to do that because we're trying to promote the good bacteria. Iodized salt will inhibit the process, as will chlorinated water. So to avoid, if you are on city water or a public water, I would filter it or just purchase some spring water from the store. Clean jars. You want to make sure your containers are clean. So I have these little tiny carrots that I harvested from the garden, and I'm just gonna cut the bigger ones up into pieces that are like this big. The goal for me right now is just to make sure they're approximately the same size. And look at this cute little carrot. I just harvested up these last little carrots from the garden bed because I'm going to plant for fall. So I thought, well, may as well just move these out and get some new things in. So this is the last of the summer carrots. And then these little tiny ones, I'm just going to trim and throw them in the jar. Okay, so what am I going to use these for? Think about that when you're cutting up your vegetables, what the end product is going to be. For me, I like to use a lot of fermented vegetables on appetizer platters. During the holidays, they're really nice to have for lots of reasons, because we all need the good bacteria during the holidays. But also it's just fun to put on app platters, cheese platters, stuff like that. But also with these carrots, I have some habaneros already fermenting in the refrigerator, but it would be very intense to have a habanero sauce with just the habaneros. So I'm going to ferment these carrots and puree them into a sauce with the habaneros. So I'm going to leave a little room for some garlic, throw some garlic in there. Let's see if I can't pack a couple more carrots in there. Pickled zucchini or fermented zucchini pickles from fermented zucchini. They're delicious. I'm going to cut these up for like an app platter, but if you cut them a little bit thinner, they're really nice on sandwiches. I think I actually prefer the fermented zucchini over a cucumber. Call me crazy. I'm going to put the beans in a jar that has a shoulder on them, and I'll just explain that in a second. Sometimes it's nice to have I'm gonna put some dill in with the beans. I already have these spicy beans here, so I'm just gonna do one that's not spicy because not everyone likes things as spicy as I do. A little bit. I'm just gonna press them down. See? They're gonna be just fine. But the shoulder of the jar really can help keep some of the things, some of the vegetables below the surface of the water, and that's what we're gonna go for. And then let's get the zucchini. Get the zucchini in. Okay, so the brine. So I always start with a little bit of warm water so that I can dissolve my salt in there. I'm going to put enough salt in here for the yield of 1/2 gallon of brine. So I said 1 to 3 tablespoons per quart. So I think what I'll do is I'll do 5 tablespoons. I'm just gonna stir it up. So I'm using Redmond sea salt. And because I'm just getting started with the season, I got a really big container, 10 pounds. That's where the pink color comes from, that the sea salt. It's the minerals that make that color. So we'll just go ahead and pour that into the cool water, and you can just see there's a little bit of minerals, the pink minerals that are in there. And I'll just give that a stir. I'm gonna get a ladle because if I start pouring out of this jar, I'm gonna spill everywhere. Okay, so you wanna make sure that your vegetables are covered because the lactobacillus works in an anaerobic environment, and that means without oxygen. So you wanna make sure that everything is covered. How do you do that? You use jars with the shoulder. This crock has weights, so if you happen to have a crock, you can just use a crock, the weights for the crock, and you can see that's coming up a little bit. I'll show you how to solve that problem in a second. Now I can just pour, and you can see I'm using the same solution for all of these different vegetables, and they'll all do just fine. And I have enough to do something else. So if everything is under the liquid, you can just put a lid on it. All of these beans were under the liquid. But if you put a lid on it, you're gonna wanna make sure that you burp the jar every day, because what happens during the fermentation process is gases are produced. So if you don't burp it, it could explode all over your kitchen. You can also use a fermenting lid, which I actually don't have. I don't know why. I ferment so many things, but I don't have fermenting lids. They're awesome. You can just put them on and then you can forget about it. Well, you don't really want to forget about it. Okay, so you want to make sure the vegetables are below the liquid, and then and if they don't stay under the liquid like the zucchini, you want to weigh it down, and you can use a jar. I know people that have collected rocks from the beach that are the right size to fit in the jar. I think that's a really lovely idea. You can also use a little bag, a little Ziploc style bag. Put some brine in it because you want it to be weighed down. But if you were to use water in something like this, you would end up diluting the solution in the jar. So you can do something like that. You can just put the lid on with the Ziploc bag in there, and it keeps everything under the liquid. You will need to burp this guy. How long do we ferment? You ferment until it's done fermenting. It depends on the temperature. So if it's warmer out, things are gonna ferment quicker. If it's colder, it could take several weeks. And then it depends on also the vegetables. Like the carrots are more dense. Those are gonna take a little bit longer than the zucchini. The zucchini will be fairly quick. So I would say some things like in the peak of summer, when the peak heat of summer, zucchini will probably take less than a week. You will want to taste it. Taste your vegetables. Are they fermented enough for you? You will notice some bubbles coming up, and the color changing and the liquid getting cloudy, and then you know that the fermentation is happening. And see, it's so easy. You just add salt water to a vegetable, let it sit on the counter. I recommend leaving it out on the counter so that you are reminded, 1, to taste it, and 2, to burp it. And that's it. So I hope that this was informative. I hope that you go out and try fermenting something. You can ferment just about anything. Tomatoes, you can ferment fruit, you can ferment so many different things. Here's one great resource, Sandor Katz, Wild Fermentation is a really great book. I'll put a link to that book in the notes. And thanks for joining me. I really appreciate the support. Bye. Okay, so we can help to blah blah blah.